Hi! In this video demonstration, we're going to talk about the use of a specific kind of map in 3D Studio Max called the Composite Map, which can really help us do anything from add a decal or a graphic to the front of a car, or a patch to a jacket, or graffiti to a wall, blood smears and blood spatter, or just generally dirty things up using the use of a grunge to layer textures on top of each other. In our little demonstration, we're going to do a few different things. You should have downloaded the folder to go along with this, which is just a folder that kind of contains some various texture images that we're going to be using to create the graffiti on top of a brick wall, and maybe add some blood smear and some general dirt and grunginess to this thing, so we can see really how these things work fairly in depth to layer these different types of textures on top of each other for an end result. Inside the composite folder, you should find a couple of blood smears, some brick wall textures, a goofy looking frog, and a texture map called grunge, which is just kind of a hazy overall mask for some like dirty stone or something like that we can really help bring our scenes to life with. As you may have noticed, that anytime the 3D scene looks a little bit too crisp and too clear and too clean, it becomes a little bit more noticeable that it is in fact a 3D scene, an illusion. So 3D artists have long known that dirtying things up can really bring their scenes to life a little bit more, because nothing in the real world is really that clean. You're going to find scuff marks and grunge all over the place, let alone anything else. Things like video games, you're going to get the scroll across a wall or a blood stain here and there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with those. Make sure you've unpacked them in a folder that you can get to. And then open up 3D Studio, get a brand new scene going here, and we're going to create initially here a brick wall with a graffiti of our dorky looking frog, as if it had been painted on there. Let's go ahead and create a box. I'm going to create a box to resemble my brick wall here, kind of thing. So I'll just make a kind of a long, thin, and wide box here. Hop over to my Modify tab, and we can kind of round things out. Maybe a length of 15, maybe a width of 180, and maybe a height of I don't know, just 80 or 90 should do us. We don't need any segments in here because we're going to get all of our detail via the use of textures. Now, in the past, we could hop right in the material editor, which we are going to do. Hit M to open up your material editor on your keyboard, or use the material editor button here at the top on your main toolbar. And what we would do in the past is just kind of immediately start making, let's say, a brick wall texture. But if we want to, and we really do, add other things on top of it, we're gonna show you how to use, in combination, these composite shaders in various different channels to really kind of come up with an overall effect that's a lot nicer than just bricks. We're going to have to use the composite shader in tandem with UVW map modifiers, more than one in this case. For our original brick wall, let's go ahead and add a UVW map modifier to it to begin, and let's just mark it to box, and we'll let it fit for now, but we'll change this all based on how our textures start looking here. What I do want you to notice here first is that on our first UVW map modifier, we've got a map channel down in here. We've used it a couple of times for various reasons, but what we're going to be doing is changing this number here to match our different layers of our textures over here in the material editor. Whatever map channel our UVW map modifier is set to, that's the channel it's going to refer to for the specifics in our image layers. Map channel 1 here, which is our first UVW map modifier, is going to reference our bricks, whereas maybe map channel 2 references our frog, map channel 3 might represent our dirt and grunge, and map channel 4 might represent the weird bloody handprint that happens to be on this wall for absolutely no reason. So just mark that in your own minds. Map channel 1 is going to be for our bricks, and we are going to come back and add some extras and some more of these things as we go. We'll do our diffuse texture here first, and then we'll show you kind of how to use composite maps to stack on top of each other some different bump maps and stuff like that as well. So in the diffuse channel here, let's go ahead and click that and add, and under our standard maps, find composite. Composite is going to allow us to stack more than one image on top of each other via the use of masks and map channels. So go ahead and select composite, say OK. It'll bring you into this composite layer here. You might recognize a lot of the stuff from other programs such as Photoshop. Right off the bat, you've got a drop down here, and if you open it up, you'll see a lot of these same layer names and layer types as we had in Photoshop, from multiply layers to color saturation and some dodge and burn stuff. Right now, we're going to leave that at normal. You've also got two other channel buttons, and if you hover over them, you'll see what they're for. The one on the right-hand side is for the mask, and the one on the right and the left-hand side is for the actual diffuse colored image. In our case, layer 1 is going to be for our bricks. Layer 1, channel 1, all those ones are going to be for our bricks. So we're gonna load in the diffuse channel map of bricks in the left-hand none channel button. Go ahead and select that, and then from the list under standard, select bitmap. And then go ahead and find wherever it is you saved all those composite maps. And brick underscore 04 will be the one that's our actual diffuse map, our actual color map here. Select it and say open. It'll take you into the bitmap settings where you might notice here's a map channel. We're going to leave this one set to 1 as it's the first layer and everything, so everything should be default for this one. And we're also going to leave things on like tile, but we're not going to change anything in this original one, but we will be changing some of this stuff in the future. Let's go ahead and hit that Go to Parent button to back out of it. We can actually turn on our Show Shaded Materials in Viewport here. We can actually back out one more and turn it on at the very, very top and click and drag this down onto our brick wall here. As of right now, we've only got the one layer in our composite channel. So if I keep going back to Go to Parent and then back in, which is what we're going to be doing quite a bit here, you can notice that right now all we've got on here is a set of bricks. In order to make our bricks fit a little bit nicer, we can come over to our UVW map modifier here and use the bitmap fit button to select that image of our bricks, brick underscore 04, and maybe make our UVW gizmo match that aspect ratio a little bit better of our bricks. It made mine look awfully small, so I can select that gizmo and just use my uniform scale tool right in the center there to increase the size until I'm happy with where my bricks are at, right about there. That looks good. From here, I'm going to go right back into that same channel, that composite channel. A little tiny button up here in the upper right-hand corner allows us to add a new layer, which we're going to go ahead and click to go ahead and add. On this new layer will be where we want to put our graffiti or our grunge or whatever else we're trying to add onto this. This could be flames on a car door, or a sticker on a notebook, or a decal on a shirt design, or a patch on someone's jacket or hat. Millions and millions upon millions of uses for this thing. Again, layer 2. Layer 1, we've just got a picture of bricks in here. We want it to tile across our entire model. In this case, our brick wall, which is looking okay for right now. On layer 2, we want a very specific thing to happen. We're actually going to use this other channel here for the mask, as well as the one for our actual graffiti here. Now, in the texture one, since we've already done that, let's go ahead and click that again. Select bitmap once more. And this time, let's find our silly-looking frog. He's going to be our stand-in for graffiti here. Silly-looking frog underscore diffuse map. And go ahead and open him up. And our thing's going to change here because right now this is what's on top. In our final rendered result, this will look a little bit differently. But right now, this is the thing that's happening here. Right now, two map channels are fighting. I added this frog in here, and it defaults everything to map channel 1. So right now, it doesn't know, this gizmo doesn't know what to display, be it the frog or the bricks, because they're both on map channel 1. So it's kind of displaying them both, and the frog happens to be on top. So that's what we get to see. Because our frog is going to be on a different layer, it's going to need its own UVW map modifier, as well as its own channel. So let's hit the up arrow button here to change that map channel to 2. I also don't want my frog to tile, so I'm going to turn off the 2 tiling checkboxes in here as well. Once we've set that to map channel 2 and turned off those tiles, we can go ahead and hit that Go to Parent button. And then just to save ourselves a little bit of time, we can go ahead and click and drag this image over to our mask slot. Make sure it's a copy, not an instance, because we don't want it to change both of them. And say OK. Now it's not going to work properly. Our frog is going to look like he's kind of half invisible because we need to change the image. So what we're going to do is click in here. And then you'll notice that what we did save time on was copying over the map channel settings and the tiling settings here. Just kind of help your workflow a little bit, speed up if you kind of do copy and then just change what you need to change. What we do need to change is in the bitmap parameters. It's the actual image itself. Right now it's using frog_diffuse as a mask. We've got one specifically made for that. So go ahead and click that button and then change the image from frog diffuse to frog_mask in this case. What you should notice is that our frog here is now cut out over the image of bricks, which is absolutely wonderful. Now we don't have tiling turned on, but for some reason 3D Studio is kind of got a little problem here where it's going to show tiling regardless. Just know that in the end result, if I go ahead and hit the render button here, it's not going to be showing that at all. The reason why no frog is showing up whatsoever is because, again, this map channel 2 here. Map channel 2 belongs to layer 2, which we can actually select and rename these layers as well. Oops, I'm having a little trouble opening that there. Not respond. There we go. Okay. So the layer 2 and map channel 2, we really need to correspond over here with our actual textures over here. So let's add another UVW map modifier. Leave this one as planar and change the map channel first here from 1 to 2. And then we can actually, we've got to do a little bit of back and forth here. Older versions of Max, the new real-time renderer, has some trouble displaying these composite textures in the viewport a little bit. So what we can do is kind of go into one of these images, our actual frog here, and maybe turn the show shaded material in viewport toggle on there. That'll actually show us just one of these based on the gizmo. As right now, the gizmo is pointing up, and there's our frog on the top there, all stretched out and looking terrible. So we can go and grab our gizmo here, get our rotate tool, turn on that angle snap, and just rotate 90 degrees so he's facing forward on our brick wall. He'll also be facing backward, but we're only going to see one side of the wall anyway. At this point, we can do our bitmap fit, select that frog image, and there's our little tiny frog, and now we can just scale him up and move him to wherever we want him. Let's say down here in this left-hand corner, maybe. If I do a render now, you'll notice that my frog is sitting on top of my bricks, just like is perfectly great. I can now move him based on his gizmo wherever I really want him, scale him up, scale him down, do as I please here. And continue on from there. Now here we are. We've got our graffiti kind of done. Turn that on. And if I turn it on back at the top again, you'll notice that again it's having some trouble displaying both at the same time in our real-time renderer. But just know that your final render is going to look exactly like how you left it there. So we just have to do a little bit of work around to get this truly functioning the way that it's supposed to. We can kind of go up to our views, show shaded materials in viewport, and turn on our realistic materials with maps so that we can start to see the bump and everything else that's going to happen here in a moment. Let's open up the maps rollout here. And on our bump, since our brick textures have come here with some other things going on here, we've got the bump map and the specular map and all kinds of good stuff. We can go ahead and simply add the bump map in here, or the normals map and the bump map, etc., like we normally would, or we can add a composite map in here as well. If I go ahead and add that composite map in, and then the actual texture channel over here would be where I would want to put maybe my normal bump, and then in there I can add my bitmap for my brick layer, for my normals. Hit that go to parent button. And I might even be able to add my regular bump in there for a little added extra detail as well. There's my B for bump. Notice I'm leaving them all with tiles on in map channel 1, just like I did the original diffuse texture there. But now our bumps should start showing up. And looking pretty good here. So even through our graffiti texture there, we'll start to see, he'll be a little bit down here, that our normals and bump is working well with it. And now he really looks like he's been painted directly onto the wall because that bump is showing through our decal there. If we didn't want it to show through and we wanted a bump map where he's kind of popping off the wall like he's a giant sticker or a poster or something like that, we simply add another layer to our bump composite that would be a bump map for him. In this case, maybe I would add a secondary layer. And in the mask layer, I can add my frog mask. I have to remember to turn this to map channel 2 and turn tiling off for it to really follow along here with us. And then maybe over here in our texture, perhaps I just give him a flat color. Or, let's just add a checkerboard here and make both of the colors white, or even a gray, depending on how much we want that bump to pop off of it. And then try our render again here real quick. And now he's perfectly flat right there. So those composite maps work for a lot more than just the images, but as well specularity and bump channel and all of that. So now we're ignoring that. We're just got a flat white for our bump, making him perfectly flat on top of this wall, which actually in this case makes him look a little bit less like graffiti, more like maybe a poster that's leaning up against the wall or stuck on a wall, or even a cartoon character on the screen or something. So for this case, I probably wouldn't choose a composite map here at all. I might back out, right-click, and clear this guy. And then instead, I would probably just add that normal bump with our brick pattern in there. Let's normal bump, add that bitmap. There's our brick layer. Again, map channel 1 just to follow along with our bricks. Our bricks are on 1. And we can add that bump map in there too, just for good measure. And what we end up with is our really cool texture shining through as if he really were painted directly onto the wall there. All right. At this point, again, same thing. We can do some of our specularity level. I might just add the specular bitmap in there for our bricks. I might do a composite because the paint that I used is a little shinier. So I would do a composite the same way as I just did with our bump map and have him a solid white so that he catches more of that specularity, or even black to make him more of a matte finish. And from here I can just kind of keep adding. Let's go ahead and add another layer here on our brick wall on our diffuse, or in our diffuse channel here. This time I can add the grunge map in our mask area. This is already kind of a mask, right? Black to white, gray is semi-visible. And all this is doing is giving us a mask that looks like dirt. And these grunge maps are really great. Let's add that mask in there. Let's change this to map channel 3. Let my perspective view catch up with us here. As well as turn off that tiling. I'm going to turn off. I'm just going to go back to the standard textures here for right now and turn them on, so that we don't have to fight with the bump map showing in our perspective viewport and all that good stuff. And then come in here and I can turn this this on, and we can actually see our image here. Now, because we've made this map channel 3, I'm going to need to add another UVW map modifier, one for every map channel. 2, 3. And do kind of the same thing. We'll leave it planar. I'll just rotate it so that it's pointing forward on us. There we go. 90 degrees. Maybe do a bitmap fit for the grunge map as well. and then scale it up to fit our wall a little bit better here. I'll move it up to like the top where this kind of grunge might fit well with our wall. Then I'll back out in my texture, click and drag to copy it over. Make sure it's a copy, not an instance. And then just go through, maybe, actually I don't even need to do that. Let's right click and clear that out. Let's just add in a picture, maybe of actual dirt, maybe a noise where I've changed the colors to something a little bit grimier, like a dark brown there, maybe a lighter reddish brown there. Reduce the color here for the noise, fractal, whatever. So that in the end, our render has got this just kind of dirty stuff at the top of the wall, right? And an actual image of something grungy and gross, or green moss growing down the side, or something like that would work even better for this. Finally, we can do one more layer, and this time add in the mask for our cool bloody handprint. Change it again to a completely different map channel and turn off those tiles. Whoops, backed out one too far. Copy this over and change that image to the red one for the actual texture. And turn that on. Add that another UVW map modifier. You see how we're just going to keep stacking these on top of each other. Change the map channel to 4 so that it's matching our layer. Rotate 90 degrees, and maybe even do that bitmap fit for this guy. And then we'll scale him up and put this bloody handprint there. Okay, our final rendered image is again going to look like whatever we keep stacking on top of this stuff. So graffiti and just extra dirt and grunge, scuff marks on the floor, blood stains or oil stains on the driveway. We can really take this idea to all kinds of new heights and make our scenes just look more realistic by keeping with that grungy idea. All right.